I was holding the annual parent-teacher night as the homeroom teacher, but my fiancé Marcus came with his childhood friend Stella and her daughter. After the meeting, Stella's daughter tagged me in the group chat, demanding, "I want my dad." I tossed my wedding invitation at him, and he actually yelled at me, "Stop making a scene. It's not easy for Stella to raise a child as a single mother. What do you, a wealthy heiress, know?" I broke off the engagement and transferred to Silverwood. He chased me to the airport, his eyes red, begging for us to get back together, but he didn't know that child's biological father wasn't him at all. Friday's parent-teacher night was the last lesson of my teaching career. In 2 hours, I would head to the principal's office to hand over my final documents, officially bidding farewell to the place that had consumed 6 years of my youth. I stood at the podium, my gaze sweeping down. My fiancé Marcus and Stella sat side by side, a picture-perfect couple, handsome and beautiful, drawing glances from the parents around them. "I'm so envious of how loving you two are as a couple. Luna's mother looks so young. She doesn't seem like she's had a child at all." "Exactly. The mother and daughter look like sisters when they stand together." Stella's face flushed shyly. Then she glanced at me triumphantly. The man beside her watched Luna with a gentle smile, helping her organize her workbook. Noticing my quiet gaze, he looked up at me, his eyes complex, tinged with a hint of reluctance. His lips moved slightly, as if he wanted to say something. I lowered my eyes, looking at the transfer request form already prepared on the podium, my fingers trembling slightly. I thought my heart had long since died. A week ago, I had already prepared all the documents, determined to leave this place. I never expected him to show up at the parent-teacher night with Stella, appearing before me as a sweet family unit. And what about me? What am I? What does my status as his fiancé mean? Everything before me was jarring. It felt as if a dull knife had been twisted in my heart. Throbbing with every beat, Sarah, the English teacher beside me, noticed something was off. She stepped forward to support me, asking worriedly, "Ms. Grace, are you feeling unwell? Do you want to rest for a bit? I can take over the rest of the meeting." "It's fine." I reined in my emotions, which had briefly spun out of control, nodded my thanks to her, and walked out of the classroom with my documents. My phone suddenly rang. I looked at the name on the screen, took a deep breath, and adjusted my tone before answering. "Mother, I'll do as you say. Everything's arranged. I'll be home next month." The woman on the other end of the line choked up slightly. "Good. It's good you're coming home. It's good." Looking back, Stella had been back in the country for 3 years. For these 3 years, I hadn't lived a single day free from nightmare. She was Marcus's childhood neighbor, a younger sister he grew up with. She went overseas for high school, got married, then divorced, and returned home alone with her young daughter. During the time she was away, Marcus and I went from college sweethearts to engaged, dating for 6 years, building a small home in this vast city. I thought human happiness was nothing more than this, until stood before me, dressed in a long dress, holding a little girl's hand. Marcus introduced softly, "Grace, this is my little sister, Stella, and this is Luna, Stella's daughter." I watched them stand side by side, a sudden, inexplicable panic rising in my heart. Stella curved her lips into a smile, saying sweetly, "Grace, I've just returned to the country and many things are unfamiliar. I'll have to trouble Marcus a lot in the future. I hope you don't mind." They say a woman's sixth sense is accurate, and indeed, my unease was not unfounded. From that day on, Marcus always went out under the pretext of helping Stella settle in, repeatedly missing our dinners, anniversaries, and my birthday. Marcus even settled them in the school district house next door, and used his position as a school board member to transfer Luna to my class, bypassing regular procedures. I questioned him incredulously. The school district house next door was meant for us to live in after we get married. For our future children's schooling, how could you give it to someone else? Marcus's expression showed undisguised annoyance. "Even a single mother, you have to compete with her." "Grace, I never knew you could be so malicious." Sometimes, after we'd already gone to sleep, the phone would suddenly ring. Marcus would quickly answer it, walk to the balcony, and close the door. In the darkness, I silently opened my eyes, watching through the glass as he gently comforted another woman. Marcus and I argued more and more because of Stella. Eventually, I grew tired of arguing and stopped bothering to debate. Until the engagement party last week, I wore a simple white gown, greeting guests and making small talk while simultaneously calling Marcus. urging him to hurry. He kept repeating that he was in a meeting and would rush over as soon as it ended. The MC was already prompting for the third time, the ring exchange was next, and everyone was waiting for the groom to enter. Backstage, I paced anxiously, trying to call him again, but his phone went straight to voicemail. I suppressed the fury in my heart and, smiling, proposed all the toasts by myself. I apologized to staff and guests one by one, explaining that the engagement had to be postponed. Back home, I collapsed onto the sofa, exhausted. I scrolled through my phone and saw Stella's social media post. "You are the joy of my youth and my reliance for this life" heart emoji. The accompanying picture showed Marcus sitting next to Luna, his profile slightly visible, with an open workbook in front of him. I laughed in anger, grabbed the nearby vase, and hurled it against the wall, shards scattered everywhere. I closed my eyes, exhausted. Marcus and I had been together since our campus romance, enduring the grind of society and the erosion of time. 6 years, my love had become a habit, one easily dismantled it all. I waited on the sofa all night. Marcus didn't come home. I watched as the sky outside gradually lightened, my eyes aching, but my mind unusually clear. 6 years, I had loved enough. "What are you doing sitting here?" Marcus's voice pulled me back from my memories to reality. I stood up and looked at him. "Is the parent-teacher night over?" He grunted, pulling out his car keys. "I'll take you home first. I have something to do back at the company later." I knew this was his signal for reconciliation. He rarely compromised or spoke softly in front of me. Whenever I got angry, he would give me the silent treatment. Rarely did he offer me a way out like this. I sidestepped him, saying indifferently, "No need, I have other things to do." He frowned in annoyance. Thinking I was throwing another tantrum, he grabbed my wrist and said gravely, "Would you stop acting up?" Today, at the parent-teacher night, Luna didn't have a father, and she didn't want to be looked down on by other classmates, so, if it were before, I would have certainly gone along with his words, comforted him, and understood him, but now, a trace of irritation rose within me. I stopped, quietly looking into his eyes. "Marcus, you're hurting my wrist." He abruptly released my hand. I ignored him and turned to walk towards the administration building. Marcus was furious, just about to chase after me and say something. Suddenly, Stella's tearful voice came from behind him. "Marcus, have I caused you trouble again?" Marcus's steps immediately halted. He instantly turned around and began to gently comfort her. I let out a cold laugh and quickly left that dreadful place. "Oh, Ms. Grace, why didn't you say earlier that you were director's daughter? This matter is handled." Holding my transfer application, sprang up from his chair. "Director had already called me. Your transfer back has been arranged. Don't worry, the approval will come through quickly." I nodded slightly. "Thank you, Principal." My father was the director of the Silverwood Bureau. I had originally studied education with the intention of eventually taking over his position. Unexpectedly, after graduation, Marcus insisted on staying in this city to start his own business. With a heavy heart, I abandoned the path my family had laid out for me and stayed too. Because of this, my father was angry and didn't speak to me for several years, and my mother would mournfully urge me to come home every holiday. I had never been a dutiful daughter. Holding the transfer form, looking at the red stamp on it, I felt a sense of relief. This wasn't just a form. It was my wings to freedom. Oh, right. I remembered something. "Please keep this confidential. Principal, this is just a regular teacher transfer. Don't let anyone else know, especially the school board." The pondered briefly, then said, "Don't worry, I promise you, this matter won't get out." Marcus was one of the school board members. If he knew I was leaving, there would be endless arguments and clinging, just for Marcus's words. "I want to have a home with you." I gave up my future and obediently became a housewife for 6 years. We argued frequently because of this. Marcus would kneel beside me, crying and pleading, "Grace, I'm just so afraid of losing you. You're so wonderful." And I truly feel insecure. Seeing his tears and pleas, I would soften again. Thinking about it now, a trace of resentment flared in my heart. Even when I was promoted to homeroom teacher a while ago, he was very displeased. This happened to coincide with Stella returning to the country with her daughter. Stella would get jealous if he was too busy to answer her calls and would rely on him for every little thing in her life. He found this very gratifying. I would break down in tears, smash furniture, and roar into the phone for him to come home immediately. At first, Marcus would patiently comfort me and coax me, But later he grew increasingly impatient. After that, he would simply shut up, slam the door, and leave, leaving me alone to my hysterical outbursts, which would then slowly subside. Now I finally understand. I was meant to be a free dove, yet I let love cloud my judgment and fought to become a kept woman in a cage. It was ridiculous. In 6 years, my mood had never felt as calm and light as it did now. Fortunately, I was still young. And fortunately, I hadn't signed that marriage certificate. I still had the courage to start anew. After this realization, I spent more and more time in the library and training rooms each day, although I was about to transfer back to the Silverwood Bureau. I had fallen behind on so much over the years. I needed more research achievements and certifications to establish myself in the new department. After I embarrassed Marcus at school last time, he barely came home. I knew he was sulking with me, waiting for me to coax him. He was certain I couldn't stand the silent treatment and would initiate reconciliation early, just as I had countless times before. Stella, however, was posting frequently on her social media. Finally, summer vacation. I can go out and have fun with the two most important people in my life. The fireworks at Disneyland are beautiful. You should watch them with someone you love. Heart emoji. The picture showed the three of them standing side by side under brilliant fireworks, looking sweet and happy. The comment section below was flooded with remarks from many parents, some offering blessings, others expressing envy, making it quite lively. Remembering's promise to take me to Disneyland to fulfill my dream. I sneered, casually scrolling through her phone, and calmly liked her post. He's damaged goods. Whoever wants him can have him. A few days later, she finally couldn't hold back and messaged me privately. Grace, I'm so sorry. I hope it hasn't affected you that Marcus has been spending time with Luna these past few days. Grace. Marcus said he hasn't had this much fun in a long time. I curved my lips into a smile and replied, thanks for taking the trouble to entertain him. Stella hadn't expected my attitude to be so generous. The typing indicator showed for a long time, but she said nothing. Feeling her resentment through the screen, I was in a good mood. With not coming home these past few days, I woke up naturally every morning. I didn't have to worry about catering to anyone. I spent the rest of my time immersed in studying at the library. The old me was truly foolish. Acting as both a nanny and a secretary for Marcus, the of the future would belong only to herself. I stretched, and with a cheerful mood, began packing my things. The week after the transfer confirmation came through, I began packing my luggage, coming home today. A familiar figure appeared on the sofa. Marcus was back. He looked at me, frowning. Why is the house so messy? I'm trying to reorganize, I replied evasively, not wanting to confront him so soon. So now you remember to take care of the house? He took it seriously and scoffed. I remained silent, continuing my task. Seeing my silence, his expression softened slightly. I told you before, why bother constantly worrying about your career? Wouldn't it be better to just have a few teas, chat, and get spas with those affluent parents every day? I couldn't help but look up at him. In your eyes, is this all the value I have? His brows furrowed again, his tone heavy with impatient severity. Why are you bringing this up again? I interrupted him with a half smile. I remember the first time you told me you liked me. I was standing at a podium, not a kitchen stove. Marcus froze, momentarily speechless. When he spoke again, his voice was much softer. Grace, I just want you to rely on me more. That way your life would be easier too. I couldn't be bothered to say more and lowered my head to continue tidying. Suddenly, my phone rang, showing someone had tagged me in the class group chat. Luna, Ms. Grace, when is my dad coming home? Luna, Ms. Grace, please give my dad back to me, okay? These two messages made my heart pound. I instantly felt anxious and furious, as if a smoldering fire was stifled in my chest. Luna's two blatant messages instantly caused a huge stir in the group chat, with parents' messages flooding in one after another. Oh my God. What's the relationship between Ms. Grace and Luna's dad? This counts as interfering with someone else's family, right? There's such big news. Aren't Luna's parents very loving? Luna's mother, if you need a lawyer, you can contact me. Don't jump to conclusions. Maybe the child is just saying nonsense without understanding. You're defending a mistress. What kind of good person are you? The group chat exploded like water dropped into hot oil, erupting into a furious, unmanageable argument. It was clear Stella was using public opinion to force my hand. I had originally intended to leave with dignity, but since someone refused, they couldn't blame me for going to extremes. Marcus saw the change in my expression and was about to come over. His phone rang at that moment. It was Stella calling him. Marcus glanced at me, seeing my face full of sneering amusement, but not understanding why. He felt both agitated and depressed, then turned to the balcony to take the call. The arguments in the group chat grew more intense, but as I scrolled down, looking at a few messages, a strange calm settled over me amidst my rage. Greenwood charged high fees and had high entry requirements. The children's families were all affluent and influential, and the parents in the group chat were prominent figures in various industries. Marcus's original intention in sending me here to teach was for me to get to know more of the affluent parents, paving the way for his future career. I scoffed. Too bad I wasn't just any parent. I was a genuine heiress, if anyone was climbing. It was them trying to curry favor with me. Stella, on the other hand, had warmly won over the hearts of these affluent parents from the very first day she joined the group, showering them with gifts and hosting tea parties, making it quite lively. Marcus liked women who were gentle and dependent on him. So Stella donned a lace dress and obediently became a kept woman in his golden cage. Marcus liked a supportive wife, so Stella made becoming Mrs. Jiang her primary life goal. It was a pity. Such a perfect kept woman wife always had to worry about being replaced at any moment, and now, here she was, showing her claws to me. Meanwhile, Marcus finished his call and sat down next to me, a hint of apology in his demeanor. Grace, Stella called and told me everything about what just happened. It was the child being mischievous and ignorant. Don't take it to heart. I kept a straight face and ignored him. Knowing he was in the wrong, he continued to persuade me. Tomorrow, I'll have Stella treat you and apologize. I pursed my lips and said, she ruined my reputation in a large group chat with so many people. She should apologize to me publicly. Grace, aren't you being a bit excessive? He suddenly raised his voice and yelled at me. The child is also in that group. If you say that, what will the child think? You're a teacher too. I was stunned by his shouting. But did you ever consider that your fiancé was being slandered as a mistress? Realizing he had lost control, he rubbed his forehead in annoyance and replied, this semester is over. I'll process your resignation for you soon. You can just stay home quietly from now on. And you won't have to worry about those rumors anymore. I looked at the man before me, an endless sense of absurdity and shock welling up inside me. Had he truly become so enchanted? Going to such lengths for Stella? 6 years of facing each other day and night. Over 2,000 days spent side by side, all that affection, in the end, was for nothing. He completely disregarded the reputation of his own fiancé. This was far beyond mere infidelity. In that moment, my perception of this man's character shattered, filled with doubt and collapse. It was even laughable that I too had been so blind, wasting 6 years of my youth on someone like him. My last shred of respect and decency for him vanished completely. I was utterly disgusted with the man before me. As you wish. I was indeed planning to resign anyway. Marcus visibly relaxed when he heard my words. His expression showed a hint of surprise as he stepped forward to hug me, his tone much softer. I knew Grace was the best. Once these matters are handled, we should start planning our wedding. He clung to me, holding me, burying his face in my neck like he used to during our passionate early days. I subtly evaded his arm, saying coolly, I'm tired. I'm going to rest. He paused, about to lash out, but seemed to remember the recent unfairness I'd endured. He controlled his emotions and said dryly, then get some good rest. I'll handle the rest. I went into the study with my laptop. As I closed the door, I gave him a curious glance. Recently, Marcus seemed a bit different. He never used to offer such concessions. Had he suddenly had a change of heart? It didn't matter. None of it concerned me anymore. I looked at the flight details on my phone. The time was 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. This was my first time meeting Stella alone, and as expected, it should be the last. The meeting was set at a coffee shop not far from Marcus's company. It would be convenient for him to rush over and play the hero. I stirred my coffee, scoffing internally. Grace, you wanted to see me, Stella said, arriving in a white dress, her long hair cascading over her shoulders. As she sat across from me, she looked like an innocent, naive young girl. I cut straight to the chase, placing my phone on the table. You sent those 2 messages in the parent group chat, didn't you? Oh, I'm sorry. I raised my hand to interrupt her. There's no one else here. Stop pretending. She looked at me and suddenly laughed. Grace, you're not as virtuous as he says, are you? What are you planning to do? Wouldn't it be better for everyone to be civil? No matter how much you fuss, Marcus won't love you anymore. I stared into her eyes. Who was it who wasn't civil, causing a scene in the class group chat? I can let you to have each other, but if you try to tarnish my career, I won't let it go easily. Stella listened. Growing impatient, she picked up her coffee and took a sip. What career are you talking about? Why are you pretending to be some strong, independent woman here? There's only one problem between us, and that's Marcus. If you just leave him sooner, wouldn't I not have to do this? Hearing the expected answer, I smiled. Aren't you tired of being a mistress for so many years, Stella? She bristled like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, saying resentfully, I'm not a mistress. Where were you when Marcus and I were childhood sweethearts? These past few years of yours were stolen from my life. Do you understand? Seeing her so agitated, I felt even more pleased, although you disrupted the engagement ceremony. We had already completed a prenuptial agreement. That house you live in is in my name, and I own 20% of Marcus's company. No matter how you argue, you are, in name, a mistress. Stella gripped the cup handle tightly, raising her hand to splash me before she could. I swiftly doused her in a steaming hot chocolate. Dark brown chocolate liquid dripped from her hair. Her white dress was completely ruined. She looked like she'd just fallen into a mud pit. She instantly shrieked, losing control. Are you insane? Grace, you lunatic. I folded 2 banknotes and placed them under the saucer as a cleaning fee, then calmly wiped my hands and continued. Furthermore, I've already called the police. I can't reason with someone as obsessed with love as you. But perhaps you know that defamation and spreading rumors in public are serious offenses. I won't withdraw the lawsuit. It carries a prison sentence of up to 3 years, and you'll have a criminal record. You know, just because I haven't come out to clarify things these past few days. Did you really think I was at home crying? Watching her grit her teeth, I nodded satisfactorily in the direction behind her. I can see you really want Marcus to be Luna's dad, but I'm sorry. It's better for a child to be raised by their biological father. Stella's gaze shifted from fury to shock. She turned her head in disbelief. A shabbily dressed man with a fierce glint in his eyes stepped forward and grabbed her arm. Damn it, you made me look for you. What? You want my daughter to be a rich man's stepdaughter? Ask her dad if he agrees first. Tony, Stella's ex-husband. They met overseas. As soon as they met, Tony aggressively pursued Stella, showering her with gold jewelry and designer brands. Acting every bit the wealthy second-generation heir, he completely captivated Stella. And they quickly married and had their daughter, Luna. Unfortunately, after Luna was born, Stella discovered that Tony was nothing more than an undocumented immigrant who had snuck into the country. He not only had no money but also carried immense debt. Stella, terrified, flew back to the country with her daughter overnight and sought help from Marcus. Too bad she hid him so well. I found him. After seeing the defamatory information in the group chat, I quickly contacted someone to investigate the source of this mess and then led Tony here. He was a lowlife now that he had Stella. How could he let go easily? He yanked Stella's arm, dragging her outwards. Damn woman, trying to run away? You can run to the ends of the earth, but Luna is still a child of my Jiang family. How much money did you take to give my daughter to that Jiang guy? I'll make you settle this debt. Stella trembled with fright, yelling, I don't know him. Help! I don't know this man. A brave waiter stepped forward, attempting to rescue her. Would you like me to call the police for you, madam? Tony pulled a marriage certificate from his pocket and slapped it viciously onto the table. Legally married. I advise you to mind your own damn business. I, understanding the situation, stopped the waiter. It's fine. I've already called the police. Before I finished speaking, Marcus finally arrived. He saw me first, frowned, and said, What are you doing here? I told you I was very busy today. Marcus. He stiffened, turning to see his idealized first love sitting on the ground, disheveled and in a dirty dress. A blur of motion flashed before his eyes, and Marcus was knocked to the ground by a punch from Tony, with shriek. The 2 men quickly devolved into a brawl. I calmly sat on a bar stool nearby, eating a freshly baked tiramisu, waiting for the final act to conclude. Sirens wailed in the distance. Satisfied, I picked up the organized document next to me. Everything should end now. I bundled all of Marcus and my property agreements, our relationship photos and records from college to work, and Stella and her ex-husband's history into a single document, with a complete video recording from the coffee shop attached at the end. The document's cover was designed like Marcus and my engagement invitation, and it was packaged and sent to the group chat, All these photos and records, our sweet affection, were proof of our love. It took 6 years of loving and accompanying each other to accumulate this stack of memory albums, which I had already organized, intending to play them at our wedding, the library desks where we studied diligently together, the graduation ceremonies we attended, moving into our first new home together, cohabiting, buying many household items to fill this small home together, and many travel photos from different places, many meals we shared, but somehow, at some point, Stella's presence had been added to these timelines. The sweet traces of our past love had actually become proof to outsiders that I was the rightful fiancé. How ridiculous! Love, spoiled and rotten, had turned into a sharp blade. I pulled it from my chest and fiercely plunged it into that despicable pair. After the invitation was sent, it instantly caused an even greater stir among the affluent parents. If previous messages had merely led some parents to quietly observe and not rush to take sides, then my document effectively sealed the fate of that despicable pair. Various IDs flooded in scornful, mocking, indignant. These affluent parents, living privileged lives at home, detested nothing more than a third party interfering and disrupting families. Moreover, a sharp-eyed socialite recognized Marcus's name and immediately declared that her company would no longer collaborate with him. The school board also received the news and, under pressure from all sides, temporarily suspended Marcus for investigation. Suddenly, the public outcry, which I had initiated, was pushed into a second wave of intense discussion by them. Many busybodies also contacted me, attempting to win over the future Mrs. Jiang. Seeing that the effect was about right, I left the group chat. I wasn't Mrs. Jiang, and wouldn't be in the future. They just hated third parties. Stella had touched a raw nerve that affected their common interests. As for me, I wasn't necessarily one of them. Incidentally, I also handed over all the materials for suing Stella for defamation to the police and insisted on not withdrawing the lawsuit. I never saw Marcus again after that encounter at the coffee shop. Tony took Luna and extorted a large sum of money from Marcus. The two were now hiding in the city's west side slums. Stella was formally detained on extortion charges, while Marcus was anxious and stressed over Luna's situation, simultaneously trying to pull strings to protect Stella. Ultimately, Stella was sentenced to 2 years in prison. This was the maximum punishment I could secure for her under my father's pressure. After handling all of this, I pulled out my SIM card, threw it into an airport trash can, and left the place where I had lived for 6 years without looking back. Looking down at the city from the plane, I felt no lingering attachment, only full anticipation for a new life. Marcus, from now on, our lives will never intersect again. The day I found out Grace left, I was stunned. I hid away and drank a lot. My phone was off too. Whoever called, it didn't matter to me anymore. A part of my life had been hollowed out, and Grace had taken that piece with her. I thought she would always sit quietly on the sofa, accompanying me year after year. I thought once I cleaned up all the messes, she would happily become my bride. Through my drunken haze, I remembered the first time I saw Grace. It was at the freshman orientation ceremony. She was on stage, speaking as the outstanding freshman representative. I was her senior, and also the MC that day. This girl, in a simple black dress, stood gracefully at the podium, every gesture natural and composed. I could bet almost all the boys in the audience were watching her. She was truly dazzling. Her features weren't exceptionally beautiful, yet she was so calm and lovely. Her fingertips were clean and soft, making it impossible to look away. The second time I saw her was at the collegiate math modeling competition. She was in my group, as the only girl and a freshman. Someone you'd instinctively want to look after. She turned out to be far more capable than we imagined. We won first prize without suspense that time. At the celebration dinner, I subtly distanced her from others and sat next to her, blocking everyone else's view, successfully getting her attention as I had wished. After that day, I frequently asked her out for meals, invited her to study at the library, and participated in various activities. I was increasingly amazed by her independence and excellence. During this time, however, she was always surrounded by all sorts of guys. I, under the guise of studying, always positioned myself closest to her. She liked ambitious guys, so I consistently maintained the highest GPA in our grade. She liked talented and intelligent guys, so I actively participated in various activities to improve myself. I also dabbled in psychology and philosophy, subjects she enjoyed reading, all just to have common topics with her. She was like the moon, always understated, Not as dazzling or flamboyant as other girls, yet she somehow drew people towards her. Finally, during the summer after her freshman year, we officially started dating. Was I worthy of someone as outstanding as her? I don't think I had ever felt so anxious about gaining or losing someone before. Before her, I had only liked my childhood neighbor Stella. She was so docile and gentle, revolving around me with all her heart and soul, without needing me to do anything. I just had to enjoy it. But she always made me uneasy deep down. She was hardworking, emotionally stable, excellent, and as a girlfriend, she was incredibly good to me. Yet, why did I always feel like she didn't truly belong to me? If she were just a little more ordinary, a little less brilliant, she would never be able to leave me. Through my daily efforts, I finally received an offer from a well-known local listed company upon graduation. It was then that Grace hesitantly told me her parents wanted her to develop her career back in Silverwood. Silverwood was teeming with talented individuals from wealthy families. If she went back, would she still love me? I couldn't accept a long-distance relationship, nor could I accept her leaving my side for even a moment. Under my persuasion, she gave up her promising future and finally decided to stay, even having a huge argument with her family over it. I, however, felt a satisfaction and exhilaration I'd never known this time. I was the only one by her side. I was her entire life. Stella's return to the country was unexpected. She still wore a white dress, standing obediently before me just as she did in my memories. The familiar sense of control came back to me. I found her a house and helped her arrange her life. She sweetly called me Marcus. Hearing that address again, I actually felt a little guilty. I glanced at Grace. Her expression was natural, without a hint of jealousy. I felt inexplicably annoyed. The calm and composed demeanor I had initially admired in Grace now seemed particularly detestable. I started staying out all night, frequently accepting Stella's calculating invitations, and pretending to forget Grace and my anniversaries, even her birthday. Grace finally broke down as I had wished, smashing things and crying loudly. Inside, I felt both surprised and delighted, and I quickly went to appease her. The more she broke down, the more I began to feel a twisted sense of pleasure. This seemingly untouchable woman was actually willing to act like a vulnerable girl for me. I found it very gratifying. As her crying and tantrums became more frequent, I grew increasingly impatient. Didn't she know when to stop? Stella understood those boundaries perfectly. Her tears were just enough to make me feel pity without becoming annoyed. Thinking back now, I was truly a jerk. Only genuine tears signify a loss of control and a breakdown, and beneath all that emotion was her sincere heart, loving me. How many times did she cry in corners I couldn't see? When did she stop crying, and when did she hand in that resignation? I tossed aside the bottle and looked at the house. Grace hadn't packed much, just taking some personal belongings. As if she were just going on a trip and would be back soon, she disappeared as if she had vanished into thin air. I used all my connections to search for her, but I couldn't find a trace. It was as if those 6 years had merely been an illusion in my life. My job was significantly impacted by the public outcry. I resigned voluntarily, stepped down from all positions, and willingly signed an agreement not to work in the same industry for 3 years. Actually, the situation wasn't nearly as dire as resigning, but I just wanted to make things even more drastic, hoping Grace would feel sorry for me and come home. She would surely forgive me. She loved me so much. Stella had already been imprisoned. I hadn't seen Luna again, but Tony did come to find me once, during our argument. He swung his fist and knocked me to the ground. In a daze, I recalled that day at the coffee shop. It had been a similar situation. She had taken a bite of cake, watching me with a calm gaze. I tried to remember, tried to focus on that blurry face, searching for a trace of the pain and reluctance of her loving me, but found nothing. Tony's curses and slaps echoed in my ears, and I closed my eyes, blacking out. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital. My parents and 1 or 2 former colleagues sat by my side. My eyes scanned each of their faces, but I didn't see Grace. No, this can't be happening. Grace wouldn't see me like this and have the heart to stay away. I suddenly grabbed the 4 drip in a frenzy and threw it, demanding to see my fiancé. My mother trembled, pressing my shoulders and gripping my hand. Son, she pleaded, she's not coming back. She's not coming back. You need to snap out of it. Don't scare your mother. No, impossible. I shook off her hand and walked out of the room. Where could she go? She couldn't have left me. She loved me so much, I muttered to myself as I walked forward. Suddenly, a group of doctors rushed up and pinned me to the floor. Quick, We have a psychiatric patient having an episode. Sedative. Sedative. It felt like countless arms were pressing down on me, holding me tight. Someone forced my arm back and injected me with a shot. After a wave of dizziness, a flash of white light appeared before my eyes, and I really seemed to see Grace's face. She was still wearing that little black dress, standing on the awards stage, her eyes clear, but they didn't land on me. I struggled and screamed desperately, using all my strength to try and run to her, but the image receded further and further, eventually sinking into darkness. I despairingly closed my eyes, knowing I had lost her forever.